This is a topic that I have to address fairly often when I teach workshops and when I get questions. So here's a video on it, and I'm trying to keep it precise. So basically, what is the best head position to have a proper handstand and to help progress that handstand skill level? And the handstand we're going to be talking about is one that's for developing hand balance. So not a handstand as a gymnast, not a handstand as a b-boy, not a handstand as a capoeirista or parkour athlete. This is just a handstand to be better at handstands. So we have kind of three options for head positions. We have neck flexion, we have head neutral, and then we have neck extension. And my preference in teaching this and in developing the skill progression is going to be the neck extension. Of course, once you get better, you can play with all three of these different head positions because they build a different kind of awareness. But the idea is that when you're a beginner and you're first learning handstands, the neck extension will probably help you the most for a number of reasons. So the first reason is safety. It's safer to look at the floor in the handstand, especially when you're a beginner who is first learning the skill. The reason is that at some point you have to bail out, and if you haven't developed an awareness yet of where you are upside down, not looking at the floor, looking like this, to some adults is just an invitation to fall on their back. And that's usually one of the worst things that you can do as a beginner. Yeah, it's a little bit painful, it hurts your ego, but it can develop also a psychological block. So making sure that you're looking at the floor just for safety. Even if you haven't learned how to bail out of a handstand yet, if you're looking at the floor, your body is more likely to figure it out because it has a point of reference of where you're going to fall to. So number one reason for neck extension and looking at the floor is the safety of learning the handstand. Number two is that it actually helps you balance. So balance mainly comes from visual cues. You can test this out very easily by standing on one leg, which I imagine you can balance pretty solidly on. If you close your eyes, it gets much more difficult because you lose a visual point of reference. In the handstand, you can't see your own body, so the best visual point of reference I think that you can have is to look somewhere between your hands. Where you look between your hands is up to you. I personally don't look at the floor. I prefer to look past the floor into the void. This is my own personal technique. Some people like to find a point. But the idea is that your weight is in between your hands, right? So if you look somewhere in between your hands, you can create some connection with where your body is by imagining that it's hopefully in a vertical line stacked through the point of where you're looking at. So it can help a lot with learning to balance when you have that visual point of reference. Next is a little bit more subtle, is that it actually changes the weight distribution a little bit. So the head is really heavy. I don't know what it weighs, 10 to 15 pounds for a human adult. So the position of the head can also change the position of the body a little bit. So if I have my head a little bit out, it brings my weight a little bit towards the fingertips where I have more control. So actually it makes it easier to balance. The second thing that the head out does, as opposed to neutral, is that it creates a very slight counterbalance of the hips. And it's slight, so it's almost not noticeable, but a counterbalance makes a position easier to hold. So this is why you'll see even very advanced elite level world-class hand balancers, you're going to see neck extension where they're doing one arms, because it makes the skill easier to balance, and the idea is to make it as easy as possible. Basically any technique is fine, but you have to know why you use it rather than just following orders. Some people are going to say, oh, I was told ear to shoulders. What about ear to shoulders? I can be ear to shoulders in a variety of different positions, so I don't feel that that's a precise cue for either head or shoulder position. Next, some of the neutral head fanatics are going to say, oh, you can never go into extension because it's bad for your back. It's all good. Neck was made to extend. It's okay. You're not spending your life in a handstand. You're not like this 24 hours a day. Normal posture, yes, you should keep a neutral neck posture. When you're practicing handstands, it's okay. It's okay to go into neck extension. Dr. Yuri said so. Alright, next, some people are going to say, oh, I was told neutral head, and then you look up at the floor through your eyebrows. My idea in how I teach a handstand is to make it as easy as possible for a variety of different body types and learning styles and disciplines. So, who looks at anything through their eyebrows? What if I did my video like this, looking up at the camera through the eyebrows? That feels fucking weird, man. Why would you do this? It's so much easier. If I'm going to look at something, I'm going to look at it head on. That's why the neck moves. So if I'm leaning forward like this, it's much easier to see the camera if I put my neck into a slight extension. And then again, it's that visual reference point. So if I have my head neutral and I'm looking forward or I'm looking up, there's nothing wrong with that, but I consider this an advanced variation of the handstand, just a different variation because the skill that it leads to isn't necessarily the same, depending on what you're trying to progress to. But if I look here, if I look out at my handstand or up, there's a lot of visual feedback, but none of it gives me a point of reference for where I am, so it makes it more difficult. So once you've learned a basic handstand, you can play with head position, and that makes you more versatile. But when you're first learning it, my suggestion is to continue looking at the floor. Very, very important. Now, some people also use this head in to compensate for their shoulders not being open. So my head and shoulders move independently of each other. So I can have a good shoulder position and I can pull my head out. But when people are having trouble getting their shoulders open and they're like this, one of the common compensations is to pull the head in to try to make the shoulders feel more open. This is one of those reasons why I really dislike that arms to ears cue, because it gives the student too much room for error and they can make mistakes but still technically follow the cue. So I don't want to make this video too long, but these are some of my ideas of why I teach a little bit of neck extension, why I think it's important to look at the floor, and why if you learn handstand looking at the floor, it will make it less frustrating for you to learn the basics, and eventually it will lead much easier onto those more advanced skills. So let me know what you think. I'm always open to hearing different opinions. It's the idea that whatever opinion I have, and this is all opinion, I have clear reasons why based on my own experience. So if you follow a specific technique that works for you, it's really good, but if you follow it only because someone told you, to me that's not ideal. I like to have reasons and experience and real life practical application of why a certain technique is used as opposed to theoretical or I do this because someone told me to. Anyway, I'm trying to make more YouTube videos as you're seeing, so let me know if there's anything else you want me to talk about. If you're in Australia, I'll also be heading there in a couple days, so hopefully I'll catch some of my listeners there. But yeah, let me know what you think in the comments below. Whatever, like, share, subscribe. Check out my Handstand Ebook. Check out my other videos, my Instagrams and Facebooks and all that. I'm really bad at promoting myself, as you can see. And yes, say something in the comments.